Hey, and welcome to my journey. Today's video is a meal prep video. Now, I got to thinking, I've not meal prepped in 2 weeks. Last week I had COVID. The week before that was Jacob's birthday party. So for 2 weeks, I've not had any food readily available to just go to when it's time for breakfast, or when it's time for lunch, or when it's time for a snack. And I didn't think about it before, but I guarantee you that had a lot to do with my gains, because when left to my own devices, it can get ugly. So I'm really happy to be back at it again this morning, and to have some nice healthy options for me during the week. Now, what we're making today is cheesy sausage balls for breakfast. I know that's an odd choice because it's like a snack, but I thought, well, it's sausage and it's cheese. Makes sense to me. These are a take on the Bisquick kind that you grew up with. You know, everybody made sausage balls back in the day. We loved them. I still love them. They're delicious. But these are made with almond flour instead, so they're a meatier, denser sausage ball. They're delicious. They're just absolutely delicious. And then for lunch, I'm making no bean chili. This recipe is so easy because everything goes in the crock pot. What's easy about that? You don't cook the hamburger first. You put the hamburger meat in raw. It cooks. It really does. I know the first time I made it, I was skeptical about that, because that's not something I've done before, at least not to my recollection. So you don't have to dirty up another pan. You don't have to take that extra step. You just dump the whole thing in and go. Then for snack, dessert, whatever you want to call it, I finally made Pound Droppers pumpkin pie cheesecake, and it's so good. I've already had a piece this morning because the container I put it in holds 8 pieces, and my dish makes 9. So I've already had a piece this morning, but that's fine because I have been up prepping since 4 o'clock this morning. Woke up, I was through sleeping, so I figured, well, I might go ahead and get a start on it, especially since, you know, the one thing has to go in the crock pot. That would make it even later to finish my video. This way I'll get my video finished still really early in the morning. So that is what I'm having this week. I think it's going to be a good week. All right, well, let's just turn around and get started cooking. For the cheesy sausage balls, we're going to make it in our stand mixer. It gets a little tough to mix. You don't have to, but it's just easier for me. So if you have one, I would suggest using it. Now, I sprayed the paddle and I sprayed the inside of the bowl to make it easier to clean up. And what I have inside is 1 pound of bulk breakfast sausage. To that, I'm going to add 1 cup of almond flour, a tablespoon of baking powder, and 1.5 cups of shredded cheese, sharp cheddar cheese. And we are just going to turn this on and mix it, scrape it down every now and then to make sure the almond flour is incorporated until it is completely combined. Okay, I actually didn't need to scrape it down. I just let it run long enough and it picked everything up. So it's nice and combined. You can see everything is fully distributed. Now I'm going to use my small cookie scoop and just scoop out little scoopfuls, and then I will come back and roll them into nice smooth balls. And what I'm going to do is spray my hands with some cooking spray to keep the sausage from sticking. So let me do that. I meant to tell you to put these either on a sprayed baking sheet or one with some parchment paper. This is a 15 by 10 baking sheet, and it fits these 30 sausage balls perfectly. These will cook in and if you don't have a cookie scoop, just use a spoon and scoop them out by the tablespoonful. It's really a little bit bigger than a tablespoon. Anyway, these will cook at 375 for 20 to 25 minutes until they're nice and golden brown. I let these go 23 minutes, and you can see they let off a good bit of grease, but they're nice and golden brown. So what I'm going to do is, instead of letting them sit here and cool in their own fat, I'm going to put them over on this paper towel. I just got a piece of tin foil because I don't feel like cleaning nothing, that's why. And just let them drain and cool over here before I package them up. Lunch today is such an easy recipe. It is no bean chili, and you just cook everything in the crock pot, including your meat. I have in here a pound of raw hamburger meat. I chopped it up a little bit, and I've already seasoned it with some house seasoning. Now I'm going to add 1 can of stewed tomatoes, and I'm going to go ahead and add it first because I want to chop them up. Okay. Then we need 1 can, an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, 1 can of diced green chilies, and we don't need to drain those, a clove of minced garlic, and I'll just eyeball that. Then we need 1 small chopped onion and 1 small chopped green pepper. My onions are in the fridge, and they've been in there long enough. That's why I have part red and part white. And it's a little bit more than a small onion probably, but that's fine by me. But I needed to get those used up. So I'll stir this around a little bit. Okay, then for our seasonings, we have a tablespoon of dried parsley, tablespoon of chili powder, 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt, half a teaspoon of paprika, and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Black pepper. I guess if you want to spice this up, you could add some hot pepper to it. I just can't eat it like that. Okay, now that is stirred up real good. We're just going to cover it, cook it on high for 4 hours. I'll come in every little bit and give it a stir just to make sure the hamburger's not cooking into like one patty, just to make sure it stays broken up. So, see you in 4 hours. Here's the chili after 4 hours. You can see how well that hamburger was cooked. I like how it cooks down really fine like that. It's a really delicious chili. You can add beans to it if you want to. I don't see any reason why you can't. I would just cook them on in there with it so they'll be good and soft. Or you can just add it now and let it cook to heat them through. Whatever you like to do. So there is our no bean chili. Now we're going to make Pound Dropper's pumpkin pie cheesecake. Her recipes always call for 3 cups of plain non-fat Greek yogurt. Fage or Chobani are the best. Fage is my favorite. See, it's nice and thick. This recipe calls for the entire 32-ounce container. So that's how it differs from all her other recipes. And I have 3 eggs and 3/4 cup of canned pumpkin. So I'm going to blend this together. You can use a whisk if you want to, but it gets too hard for me to whisk, so I prefer the electric mixer. Okay, now we will add 1 box of sugar-free vanilla pudding. Her recipe doesn't call for cake mix. Some of her newer ones do, but I always use it. This is spice cake mix. It's not sugar-free, it's just regular. So it's 3 tablespoons of cake mix, and this is the spice cake. Then we have 3 tablespoons of sugar substitute. I'm using Trivia Sweet Complete, a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, and a teaspoon of cinnamon. And we'll blend that together. And then her recipe calls for a half a tablespoon of vanilla. And I add, because I have this pumpkin spice flavoring, I got it off of Amazon. It may be linked in my Amazon storefront. I'm not sure. You can go check it out. The link is below. But I'm just going to put a teaspoon of that in there just for a little extra pumpkin kick. Now let's blend that. Okay, now her recipe always calls for a springform pan. I don't have that. So I use this 10 by 10 Corningware. It's what I've always used, and it just makes 9 pieces instead of 8 slices. They may be a little thinner because it's just wider around. I'm not really sure. since I've not made it like that before. But it works out just fine for me. So let me put this into our baking dish. Okay, now we have this all smoothed down the best we can. It will bake at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. 30 minutes exactly is how long mine always takes. So I will show it to you when it comes out of the oven so you can get an idea what it should look like before it cools. Here it is, fresh out of the oven. You can see it still jiggles a little bit. You see how much it rose? Now it will sink down as it cools. It smells insanely delicious, I can tell you that. I like to let mine cool completely before I put it in the fridge. So I will come back and show you how it looks when it does cool completely. Now let me show you what would have dripped on your cheesecake. Can you see the condensation glistening on that would have been on your plastic wrap? And then see how wet the paper towel is? So we protected our cheesecake. Now I'm just going to cut it into 9 pieces. This cheesecake is a little thicker because it uses a little more yogurt and pumpkin. So it's got a little bit more volume to it. Oh, did I not get that cut? Oh, okay. There you go. And I'm just going to put them in a little container. Sometimes I leave them in the big pan, but this takes up less room in my refrigerator. So here's what I'm having this week for breakfast: cheesy sausage balls. While things were cooking, I went ahead and did some eggs in the Instant Pot. Put them on steam for 7 minutes, let them naturally release for 5, and then run them in some ice water and just peel them, and they peel very, very easily. Slips right off. Then for lunch, the no bean chili, and for dessert, Pound Droppers pumpkin pie. So I think I got a good week ahead. I'm excited to have some things in the refrigerator ready to go. And on a side note, today is the day David gets his Camaro. So it should be pulling in from Iowa, hopefully around lunchtime. So that'll do it for me for this meal prep video. I hope everybody's having a really good weekend, and I will see you in the next one.